Do I see my opponent? No, like ships in the wind. Like 2 Voyagers in space on different star paths. My opponent uses a windwalk to get the jump on me, but it is alas the base that I have jumped on. It is you who must run back. This is the buff of heavy armor is why this wolf is alive. Hello everyone, welcome to another Nick Oldhead video. And yes, is this mic on? Oh, I think it is. Let's try this again. Hi everyone, welcome to another Nick Oldhead video. We are going to get started and we have a theme today. That theme is quick games. We're rushing today. We're keeping it quick. We're in a hurry. We're trying to keep the aggression quick, nimble. We're trying to keep it agile. We're trying to be fleet-footed. We're trying to be aggressive, right? You see here we're going for that Farseer Headhunters versus my opponent's Tauren Chieftain. So, you know, if you were a keen Orc versus Orc mirror watcher, you've already noticed some differences of our builds. For example, look at my Farseer and then look at his Tauren Chieftain. Right, so my Farseer is out earlier. That's because my Altar of Storm was out earlier. And all sorts of other things are different about our build, right? You see the War Mill and Barracks on my opponent versus the War Mill and Barracks on myself. So, you know, looks like my opponent is just going for an overall slower start, though you do have the Voodoo Lounge before. Nope, no, the Voodoo Lounge is not before me. So this just goes to show, if you will, the importance of like just being quick in this game, because my opponent's also trying to creep. And you see my opponent knows how important it is to be a creeping. The moment the Altar of Storm is out, you're shock waving, but you could have just been faster on it. Now I just creep right there, the ring, really quick, and then I dip. I always like to do that with the Farseer on this map because I like to play aggressive, but it's nice to get that little 68 experience and then you still get the armor. And look, this is why it matters. Oh no, the humanity. We all know what's going to happen. Thanks, I'll take it, right? So a clean 32 experience for me. And now, you know, some would say that this is a we're already in kind of a losing situation, or at least it's a tough one to be, because, well, the Farseer is not going to leave the base, and though your Voodoo Lounge isn't going to get destroyed, if the Voodoo Lounge was half health, then it'd be really tough. But, you know, this is what I'm going for. So the Headhunters start streaming in, but let's take a look at what I'm doing. We're trying to improve, so I just decided to go double Barracks. Keep that in mind, people. I just decided to go double Barracks once I see what's happening here, I see the situation. Now, unfortunately, my opponent has too many burrows here. That extra burrow could have been a tech to tier 2 or just maybe a second barracks, but the additional burrow is just it's a little superfluous. You're not even close to breaking the cap of your food now. You need to be building units here. I'd say a grunt is appropriate at this point. You need something to stick around and trade till it dies, so I would say my opponent should be building a grunt. But you also need to be getting that salve online. Now this is where all the wood peons just go in burrows. Both of these burrows need to have a wood peon in it, just to punish me every time I go in. But this is acceptable if you're my opponent, I suppose, because no, it's not, because you haven't attacked him. At this point, I have a second barracks going up, so let's see how quickly I utilize it. Now, I'm the one who could use, oh, see, look. I'm the one who could use the burrow here. So just look at the difference, I guess, in food. I'm not really paying much attention to the game. This is a nice rally by my opponent getting a kill there, but, you know, your Farseer advantage, if you go Farseer and the opponent goes TC here, your Farseer advantage is eventually what wins you the game, because every time you get a cooldown, it's a fresh set of units. And every time he gets a cooldown, it's just a shockwave. You know, that can either be hit or miss, but the wolves always get value. You know, they always cause this problem. For 500 HP of normal damage. So this is nice. A little bit of forcing the issue there. Thanks, Ring of Protection, probably helping. But, you know, this is a nice situation. If I was really on top of my macro, I'd be getting a upgrade right now. But this is just great. All of my Headhunters, they're rallied, so they're going to be focusing one by one. Spend the Chain Lightning, really send them away while I heal solve and That's looking like the checkmate, you know? You just start streaming at headhunters. I'm not trying to do anything else. And yeah. So the moral of the story is, you know, Farseer headhunters is the build that keeps orc versus orc honest. Like, you know, I love a good cheese. I love a good, you know, alternate build. But you got to be very aware that at any point your opponent can just double barracks Farseer. Yeah, so we really forced it here because where you're going to go, let's just force the issue. Nice, I mean, ideal positioning by my opponent here, right? Would have been bad if I didn't get the kill there. He still had salves. It's actually possibly winnable if my opponent doesn't get the kill there, salves up, and then gets those 2 headhunter kills, right? Then all of a sudden you're thinking of a different game. But alright, there's a quick one. Just keeping it quick. Let's see what else we have. We are rushing people. Let's see how it works in the land of rushing. So, messed up my micro there. My peon's off to a late start. And we have another orc versus orc mirror. So my opponent went for a very close to the gold mine orc burrow. If you know Warcraft 3, this is like a really old school orc burrow, because then you would put the other burrow here, and then it would squeeze the burrow line, and the peons would get additional movement speed, but they patched that out. Now, you know, I prefer this burrow positioning up here. You know, yours is all close, but mine is, well, actually, now that I think about it, it's just a little more aggressive, but it is, I suppose, covering maybe both of your buildings, whereas my second building usually goes here, yeah. And then I usually have a burrow here, or if I'm really feeling cheeky, a burrow here, and then the barracks here, right? Like that aggressive burrow. So let's see, Altar of Storms first by him or me. They're really evenly matched. Mine's finished, and he still had time to go. Okay, so my hero is first. So I get the Farseer with 50 seconds and your Blade. So it's very, very close. But technically, my Farseer. Now your barracks, it is nice to be able to compare builds here by the second. So your barracks is much earlier than mine, which means you're going grunts. Now the Voodoo Lounge should be coming anytime. So my opponent is going for that Blade Master grunts. Let's speed that up. Oh, whoa, too fast there. Alright, so we go, and we have a Farseer on the prowl, and I'm scouting for my opponent, and my opponent is just immediately going for the creep. That's a Wind Walk for extra damage. Now I scouted out because I just see him, and I decided just to do damage on the Blade Master. So we know the situation now, and he decides to do damage on me. So I think this is a good idea by my opponent. You have the Wind Walk, you have Mantle and Circlet, so you have above average mana regen, and you have that extra mana, so you might as well use the Wind Walks. Now keep chasing me. The wolf here is just being annoying. The wolf needs to get in on the action. Okay, so it's an equilibrium, and this is an interesting move by me to throw here and kind of, I was trying to get him trapped. I didn't know if that was possible, but I feel like I forced the Wind Walk there again by him. But now my opponent, he sees me by the salve and the, yeah. You don't have any more Wind Walk, so it's just going to be free damage. Oh, and the sheep gets me an additional bite and a headhunter spear. So now we double barracks. Do you see? This is what I'm talking about. When you get the scout early, when you see what's happening, you can just decide to be the opponent that forgoes teching and instead chooses to double barracks and towers. That's exactly what we're doing here because we did trade. And now I like the situation because, hey, no more mana there. And I decide to wait it out. I decided to wait it out because I don't like this Boots of Speed pickup here. Sold the Mantle, gets Boots of Speed. I need Boots of Speed myself, I'm thinking. So I get Boots of Speed myself. We get some unfortunate chops here, but now my Farseer is much faster, which just makes the blade not so terrifying, right? Nice little salve to the speed scroll there. The Headhunter is now totally free. And my opponent, the worst thing when you see the peons, right? You see the peons, you now know what's happening. What do? You immediately build a War Mill, right? Because you need the anti-tower tech. So my opponent is about to defend. Now this feels bad, right? You were in Orc versus Orc. You went a Blade Master because you wanted to be the one in control, but now you're getting meta'd. So let's see how we do it. So we just get up the towers immediately. And we're trying to... By the way, quick little tower note here. we're trying to hit these 3 buildings and this while remaining out of range of the burrows. Alright, so let's all do damage to this grunt. Clearly the target to kill. Grunt secured. Nice experience. We get the cancel, right? Just putting the towers up there is perfect because all of this is trades in my favor. I can just do this all day. And in the meanwhile, you're just trading for it. So thankfully, this headhunter live. Oh no, headhunter gets chopped down. So my opponent is interesting salve, but my peon doesn't go the distance. But this is a fight we want to take. Yeah. Let's do some damage to these grunts. We don't want to chase though. We're not chasing because we have some watchtowers to defend. Blade Master comes back and what do? You don't have mirror image. Get the healing potion because we are tech to tier 2. And okay, you know, we're officially in the hot seat, so to speak. My opponent is getting a Shadow Hunter and I'm just coming out of the woodwork with headhunters. I have one more headhunter until I'm food stuck. And this is a... You have to be rational here when you're going for the burrows. You go for the burrows, and then whenever the headhunters are in range of anything else, you go for that. So, you know, get some free damage on the grunts there. Put that one in critical, so we may actually get that. Really like my play here. Nice, so we get that one, and the towers are up, so, I mean, pure advantage state for me. Love to see it. I'm, for some reason, attacking my headhunter there. Whoops. Yeah, that's not going to get up. Now, my opponent here is thinking, what skill do I go? I think Serpent Wards is not the play. I think you actually go Hex, right? Because the way you win is killing the Farseer. Or forcing the TP. And I just don't think you're going to do that with Ward. But, you know, we'll see. I've been in this situation before, too. Ward's definitely the play because you get the demo out. Now, this is where my opponent's got some teeth. You know, this is a very fragile bunch of headhunters here. The demo could start killing them. But no, the headhunter is. Thankfully, the burrow is denying some experience. The headhunters are just getting killed, and we are essentially denying. Let's see my opponent's gold here. So very little gold. I mean, my opponent is just getting towered. Full stop. But you know, the wards here, valiant. I mean, can I say the wards were a misplay when they're definitely the ones holding me back? Maybe not so much. Hex wouldn't have been able to do much here, especially considering the Voodoo Lounge is already gone. Oh yeah, but the towers here are just... It's mate. Well, the towers aren't necessarily mate, but I did notice how the towers are buffed. That's 3 armor is a lot different when it's minus 10% damage. So you had a nice little demo here, and my peons are just doing their best. And so what am I doing? As this happens, I actually just choose to TP. Here, I forgot to show that. So let me do a quick restart. One of my favorite parts about the Warcraft 3 replay is how quick you can restart and get back to where you were in the game. So look at this. Blah, 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 blah. We tower. You know, the towers go up. I eventually get down to low health. And I think this is an interesting call. But I do, right? So you saw it from my opponent's perspective before. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So that was needless. Lost those 2. Wish I would have just TP'd before. So look, I just choose to TP. Now I wish I would have TP'd before I lost those 2 headhunters, but it was probably the pain of losing 2 headhunters that said, you know what, I just need to be back to my base. Why? Because I need my items now. I don't have time to wait for that. And you know what, I actually trust these towers can defend themselves. This is a situation where, like, let my opponent deal with that. I literally... Remember, during this match, I'm not even looking at the towers. I'm now just 100% just trying to macro this little tier 1 mass headhunter style here. My opponent, you know, is very admirable, but unfortunately, this death of the barracks is going to spell... this is bad. You can't leave the barracks. Kind of nice to send the wolves a bit early because they are faster. Alright, so this just has to be... the nail in the coffin, right? But look at the match length. Not quite out of the woods yet. I just like to chain lightning the Blade Master the moment I see it. Chain lightning is one of those kind of momentum based heroes. Nice, we are in shop range as well. So at this point we feel like the game is, you know, within our range of comfort. We're just sending wolves in there to do damage to the Shadowhunter here. Is it worth it to essentially spend mana to pester. I suppose, because I'm just buying clarities. But now those 3 core buildings are done, and we could just kind of go in and kill. Yeah, just go in and kill. So we're going in, and this is the situation I was talking about this. The difference between Battle.net and W3 Champions is, you know, I think on W3 Champions they would have left by now. But no, my Battle.net opponent really is going the distance. And just, you know, look, to their point, to my opponent's point, you know, there's a lot that this tower is doing, and I'm being pretty, like, negligent. Yeah, but we're just playing it safe, right? We're just streaming out Headhunters. There's not much to say here. Yeah. There he is. The Blade Master, so scared, has been spent most of the game in the back of the base. Has to break stealth just to salve. And now I just am just full on fighting your last units and killing your peons. It's just killing the peons at this point. Man, look at this demo. This demo's gotten so much value. Alrighty. Now we're just killing the stronghold. Yeah. Just killing the stronghold. Mirror 1 really is just not giving up without a fight. Try as they might. I'm about to snuff out the light. This victory was tight. It was out of sight. And my Farseer level 2 knew just what to do. And yep, we're just kind of farming. Are we just going to kill the stronghold, or no? I think we just kill the Blade Master here. Yeah, so we just, this is one of those moments where you gather everything, you click it on the Blade Master, and there you go. So once the Blade Master falls, it's just curtains. But I do like the tenacity of my opponent there. So good game, good game. And let's pause for a second. We took a break because we had to do something, and then a day went by. So let's continue where we left off with our fast games, right? We got 2 more fast games, and then this will be, you know, the conclusion. But let's get back into gear. We have a human opponent, and we have, of course, me, your local friendly Drazion, playing the orcs. You know, the old greenskins at this point of the game, they're either doing some sort of 4-peon micro situation, like what I was doing for a bit, but then once you get 5-peon, you can relax from the micro. You got to build your hero quick. Nice, immediate Farseer build. Meanwhile, my opponent's going for the Archmage. So you can usually, at this point, just as for the sake of it, focus on what we can see, right? But if you were the human, you can kind of know what you're planning on building, depending on the number of farms you see, right? The human has a choice now whether to build like a scout tower or to build a 3rd farm. Looks like we're going for 3rd farm, so no fast expansion. But I don't know any of that, or I can't even guess or presume any of that. Now this is an interesting thing that happens. Look at what happens. So I just send the wolves here, and I'm not sure if this has always been the case, but my wolf, he just decides to bank it in there. And when doing so, is now running on this line and aggroes this guy. So that was unfortunate, right? This wolf gets netted. We take some damage. Not ideal, but we are quick to send this grunt the other way there. Yeah, we need to keep that in mind. We don't want to make that mistake. We hear that. We see them there, so we decide to go for the peasants. Kind of unfortunate that this wolf is late for the ensnare, but it ends up working out because both wolves are positioned well here. So we do get the kill, and that's 25 experience for the Farseer. Let's switch so we can see both experience, because that's what's important here. We don't want, this is the buff of heavy armor is why this wolf is alive, you know, because the water elemental, and that allows me to resummon. So my opponent didn't get the experience there. We resummon the wolves. So at this point, we always want to do damage on the Archmage. When it comes to Archmage versus Farseer, it really is like a HP race. So this is another little micro decision here. Once you can tell the Archmage can only run, just stick 1 wolf on them, because this wolf needs to help the skirmish here, because these 3 footmen will be doing favorable damage to the grunt. So the wolf needs to come there to kind of help the DPS situation. Meanwhile, this wolf just, chasing the Archmage, keeping them on his toes, and we do have just more damage. Back at base, we have a grunt. Could be picking up a salve and a clarity. I hope I get quick on that, but I seem to be preoccupied. I'm sending a wolf over here to kill that peon. We love to see it. And this is just aggression because the Archmage was sent away, and we're doing the same thing now, right? We're trying to keep the pressure on the Archmage. We don't want to die here necessarily with our hero, so we have the salve. So it looks like this grunt did come eventually with salves. It looks like it was another grunt, but the salves were delivered. That's why I have the rally here to begin with. It is a little unfortunate though, because of the miss rally. We are a grunt down, but we are able to get the regen going on, and the wolves, yeah, see, the wolves are doing the all-important work of finishing these kills. So that's really good on me to, I suppose, give myself some breathing room, but I would have preferred this. Okay, so we do get another healing salve and clarity, and now you need to change the rally point to the hero, and I believe I just did, if you heard that. These wolves have been very effective this game. They've been very effective at picking off units, and we don't want to fight in the arcane tower there. We're just getting pure experience from the human units. We haven't even crept much, so this is great. We're going to kill another footman here for sure. Don't think my opponent's too worried about that. So we kill another footman, and the grunts are just... And at this point, we can go in and tank the arcane, because we don't mind, right? We see the Archmage, and at this point, I would have just, like, maybe... like, killed my Archmage and then rebought it, right? Because the Archmage hasn't been doing anything, just getting chased around, and, like, has it really been worth it? I'm not sure. Finally gets level 2 Archmage, though, thanks to wolves dying, but it has been tough for my opponent. Because at this point, I am now above experience, and look, it's not like that... Yeah, I think my opponent's decision to keep the Archmage alive, I know it's odd, but I think you should have just... suicided your hero to creeps. But the moment he was like 90 health, running around getting chased by grunts, now you just suicide that the creep, rebuild it, so then you have at least a fighting chance. But hey, just a classic grunt rush with Farseer. And I personally think, you know, since the patch, since that heavy armor patch, I think grunts and oh, here's another one. What, 7? That last one we did was pretty quick. Yeah, this one 7 minutes. This went in 7 minutes 53 seconds, but like I was saying, heavy armor is a buff to the Farseer as well. Oh, look at this, tragic 10-second delay by my opponent. Tisk tisk tisk, it happens. And at this point I already have my stuff built. So, you know, the tragedy of Warcraft 3, sometimes your build is so late. I mean, you know, when you see a build like this, it's easy to underestimate your opponent. I will learn not to underestimate Kat Kokos, because although this game ended quick, I had another game with this opponent after the game, and let's just say it's good to take it to this opponent quickly and rush, because it went very long, and that was not in my favor. To say this opponent played extremely effective in a lame style. And I say lame in the most technical way, like economy, towers, stuff like that. Maybe I could show that replay. You know, it makes me think, as we wait for the heroes to come out now, it's a Blade Master versus Blade Master, as it usually is in Arc Mirror. I'd be curious in the comments what sort of games you guys want me to go over, because I feel as if there are 3 games that I like most. There's the unique build type games, with the games where it's like a hard loss where I need to understand why, and I also like explain why so I can learn. But then I suppose maybe the third games are just these really short ones. I kind of like the theme of how quick can I get in and out of a Warcraft 3 game, so let's see how this happens. Kat Kokos is going for the Forest Troll Berserker, but not me. I got items on my brain and a firm plan to get that circlet of abilities. So I do this because I want my Blade Master to be superior. And look what happens. I get rewarded with the early Blade Master Windwalk Harass on their side. Because I Windwalk right here, I have all sorts of time to use that Windwalk to scout this and potentially this camp if I'm really quick on it, right? So thankfully we do get this, and We all know what's going to happen. Nice. I don't get the item. They get the Gloves of Haste. Very good, but hey, I now have Circlet, and I was able to nab that experience. So at this point, I actually think my opponent kind of outplays me here. So let's see. We're trading. We're trading. This is good for me because I have the Circlet trading. Got hit by Burrow, hit by Hero, and that's a nice salve into Windwalk. So my opponent's healing. I'm not doing the same. That's my problem. I should have salved into Windwalk too. But I'm deciding to just push it. So I decided to really, really push it. I now have one more Windwalk. So my opponent has used 2 salves, and I mess up my salve into Windwalk. So uh-oh. I salve, mess up. So I think if my salve into Windwalk worked there, I didn't get Burrow hit, it would have been good. But my opponent did have to buy multiple salves there, right? So now I have to salve up in Clarity. And does my opponent starts to creep immediately. So hey, good on my opponent. Really trying to keep it even. And this opponent started 10 seconds late. So, you know. Let's see though, my build now. I start to build my grunt. My opponent already has a grunt. And you can just see how much damage you can take if you don't take Mirror Image. So I'm going Windwalk creeping, but it's after I have a grunt in play and this other grunt. So they're sharing a bit of the damage here. Because Orc units have a natural HP regen, you always want to take some damage from these grunts, right? And I always love to do this. Once you get the item, Blade Master has better things to do. Send him home, get shop items, do anything but kill these basic units, right? And then we're off. So my opponent, on the other hand, kind of around the same experience as me. Well, the exact same experience. 180. A lot more salve investment. Let's just look exactly where we are in the game because it's the Orc Mirror. Okay. In terms of resources, wow, a lot of lumber by my opponent. And I bought a second Circlet, as one does. So at this point, you know, I always like to have the most tricked out Blade Master in a Blade Master v Blade Master. And you know, item RNG is a big part of that. But one way in which you can kind of radicalize that RNG, the only thing you get is Cloak of Shadows from there? Wow, that camp is so... What did I get? Ooh, nice. Clouds of Attack. But you can just buy Circlets in the Orc Mirror to ensure... use the speed scroll there. Okay. Maybe a misclick. So let's see how this clash happens. Do I see my opponent? No, like ships in the wind. Like 2 Voyagers in space on different star paths. My opponent uses a Windwalk to get the jump on me, but it is, alas, the base that I have jumped on. It is you who must run back. So this is maximum tempo loss by my opponent. Just the worst timing. You know, I just beat you to the punch and I have more grunts than you do. So the reason I have more grunts than my opponent, though, is because, like, I like to think that my opponent is probably expecting a late game, but not me. I kind of knew that I was going to rush early, so I invest a lot in the blade, invest a lot in the grunts, get a nice surround there. I really like the surround by me there. But you know, like without that surround, how does most of this game work? We now go into Windwalk level 2, and we have Windwalk level 2 with Dust. So, you know, at this point, we're going for just Blade Master superiority there. We really scare the Blade Master away. Now, this is what you love. You love Grunt versus Grunt, and you have the Blade Master, right? No, be sure to cancel that. We still have Dust. And this is where, like, Windwalk 2 comes in. They really can't run. Nice salve, though, on their Grunt. That's a good choice. I tried to sacrifice my Grunt here, but I don't attack it in time. So he does get the Grunt kill, but that's okay. I'm like a threat to his Blade Master. And the clarity there is nice, though it does get canceled. I thought the clarity would maybe scare with the Windwalk. But ooh, crit there is so dangerous. Obviously my opponent's going to have to TP. So let's see. Yep. Yeah, my opponent TPs. So if I'm wise, I'm probably going immediately back to base. Yeah, immediately back to base. Check on my Shadow Hunter. Get a Kodo. Love Kodo in Grunt versus Grunt. I see that my opponent is still food stuck, probably. No, not food stuck, but... You know, the Torrent Totem, he needs to build a Walker. My opponent needs to build a Walker. Burrow is actually pretty nicely positioned. I mean, not impossible for my opponent, just like, you know, every time a walker's not built, it's sad. Now it's scary for him, though. He needs to turn invisible ASAP. He needs to spit. Oh my god, just spam Windwalk. I guess I did have dust. Wow, was that dust? BM was just to show that I still had the dust. It actually wasn't BM, I just assumed he would. But GG's, right? So hey, 2 quick ones. Love me some quick games. Let me know in the comments what other type of games you guys like to see. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. Peace.